Now, the question of Jews in the African slave trade is one which I, despite the fact that I was a professor of African history for many years, is a question that I was only dimly aware of. I had come across a little reference someplace suggesting that there was a Jewish presence in the African slave trade. It strikes me as very interesting that I could have taught African history and black history generally, African American history, Caribbean history for so long without having a clearer sense of the involvement of Jews. It seems to me that somewhere along the line there must have been perhaps a deliberate tendency on the part of somebody, I'm not sure who, maybe book publishers, maybe historians themselves, tendency over the years to downplay, to deliberately downplay and to obscure, to camouflage the role of Jews in the African slave trade. If it was something that might cause a bad reflection on their kind, there was a tendency to sort of hide behind other people, so that Jewish racism would become white racism. David Brinkley, I suppose, is considered a very authoritative figure. But amazingly to me, the question of the Jewish involvement in the slave trade was considered so important by these folks in the major media that they actually spent a segment one morning on The Week with David Brinkley. This is around about 1994, I think, discussing me and the whole question of the Jewish involvement in the African slave trade. And David Brinkley, as speaking with the authority of the blissfully ignorant. And David Brinkley, with great authority, announced that Jews had nothing to do with the slave trade. He said, the Portuguese, yes, but not the Jews. He said Professor Martin at Wellesley College is insane, and Cokie Roberts said, they should boycott his classes, he should be fired, and all kinds of things for saying that Jews were involved in the slave trade. But come to find out that many of these Portuguese that are, in fact, perhaps the majority of these Portuguese, slave ship owners and so on, that David Brinkley was talking about were in fact Jews. Some were what they called Moranos, Jews who pretended to convert to Christianity, then declared their Jewishness at the first opportunity and so on. But here was just one of many examples where the Jewish presence in this trade tended to be camouflaged, under other kinds of categorizations.